Hello, fictional. Welcome to the What If Issei. Today we are gonna see, what if Issei joined the Phenex family? Part 4. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. Scene, Phenex Mansion, Issei's bedroom. You only have yourself to blame, my little slave. Ravel whispered in an erotic voice. Meanwhile, Issei's arms and legs were bound to all four corners of the posts on this bed with rope as he was struggling. Lying on his back, Issei had Ravel on top of him while she was lowering her exposed breasts in his face and purposely suffocating him. MMMPHHH. This was the only reply Issei was able to offer in his current situation. After a few more moments, Ravel rises up as she is straddling the very out-of-breath Issei. Smirking, the Phenex heiress makes a declaration. Well, it seems as though you really are enjoying this, considering I can feel your little dragon. Ravel grins in with a very erotic expression and forcefully French kisses Issei before he is able to speak. In Issei's mind. I take back everything I've ever said that was bad about you, Drake. You are indeed a wise and powerful dragon. Ahahahaha. I won't forget those words, partner. I am going to sleep now, enjoy your night. Try and maybe get a few hours of sleep if possible, hahaha. Scene, Riser's chambers. I see. Well, thank you for being honest with me. Riser was nodding as Yubeluna had one of her arms wrapped in the Phenex heiress's arm. Asia, who was sitting on a comfy chair, smiled nervously. But is it really okay to feel like this? I mean, I just met a man. Yubeluna smirked. The heart wants what the heart wants. There is no shame in that. Right, Riser-sama. The taller blonde nods. Indeed. In fact, dare I say, I think you, my little adorable Asia, should go into my little sister's closet and pick out something cute. Afterwards, I would march into his room and claim what you want. But, hey, that's just me. Yubeluna whispers into Riser's ear. Sweetie, we both know what kind of woman you are. Riser blushes. Quite. Asia tilts her head as she watches the two ladies bicker on the large bed. Well, I don't think I'll be able to sleep unless I do something. Riser and Yubeluna stop fooling around and look back at Asia. The taller blonde speaks up. Alright, there's no helping it. The three of us are going to Ravel's room and find something that would look good on you. Oh, I know, you are a healer, right? My younger sister has the cutest cosplay costume that I think you would look adorable in. Yubeluna, you remember the one I'm talking about, she wore it last Halloween. Nodding, the purple-haired woman snickered. Oh, yes, that one. Oh, I must admit, if Haidu is as perverted as I heard he is, he won't be able to resist. Riser and Yubeluna grin at one another and then stare back at a confused and mildly frightened Asia Argento. Scene, Issei's bedroom. So, Issei, please don't move around too much. Ravel began to blush deeply while her hands reached toward Issei's crotch region. Issei, who is doing his best to remain as Chad as humanly possible, in fact cannot wait. Finally, he will lose his V card. No longer will he be the ridicule of jokes at his own expense. Issei feels as though this is his first step to acquiring a harem. Before things got very serious, the bedroom door creaked open. Oh my. Both Ravel, who was on top of Issei, and Issei, who was on his back, bound to the bed itself, looked back at Asia. Wearing what looked to be a white and red nurse cosplay outfit, Asia was wearing white stockings that went up to her garters, which could be seen due to her very short and white skirt. Using both arms, the petite blonde was holding a large and plushy syringe needle toy. Both Ravel and Issei looked back at one another and then did a double take on Asia. Asia's blushing continued as her shades of pink turned into almost crimson red. Ravel-sama, I'm sorry, but I need him too. Ravel looks back at Asia and cannot help but respect her for her courage. There was also the fact that the little Phenex heiress was a bit nervous, considering this would be her first time as well. Maybe having her new bestie here to help would make the experience better. Still on top of Issei, Ravel began to blush at the thought. Meanwhile, Issei's nose was bleeding. Asia then shuts the door behind her and walks quickly up to the bed. Ravel then nods. Alright, we can share him I suppose. But, you need to know that Issei here is also being punished so, the ropes stay on. Ravel grins. Issei looked back at Asia, who was nodding back at Ravel, then both girls looked back at Issei with carnivorous expressions. Scene, Occult Research Club, Kuo Academy. You know, I don't think he likes me anymore. Akeno had a distant expression. Rias, who was laying down in a four-post and canopied bed, tilts her head while showing a look of concern. Well, I can't really say that it was the best of choices, Akeno. But, I can't fault you, not really. It's true that he is indeed the Sekiryu, and I agree with you that he needs to learn responsibility earlier than most devils. Though, considering that he was kidnapped by the Phoenixes, which was my fault, maybe responsibility isn't exactly what he needs right now. But then again, I am terrible at this kinda stuff, sort of like my Ani-sama. Akeno, who is standing at Ria's bed, shrugs her shoulders. Well, I don't want my very important kohai to hate me. Well, Sona seems pretty sure that she will win against Riser, so, when he's back, maybe try and make it up to him. Rias now stretches and yawns. Thanks for the talk, President. Akeno smiles politely and makes her way to the door. Akeno? Rias asks. As her hand is on the door handle, Akeno looks back. Yes. Do you like him? Rias asks without a condescending smirk or anything that might suggest shame. Akeno blushes slightly before facing the door once more. Since when do I like boys, Rias? Rias repeats her question. Do you like Issei Haidu, Akeno? As she opens the door, Akeno speaks quietly before closing the door behind her. Insanely. Scene, early morning, Phenex Mansion, Issei's bedroom. Pound 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 pound. Issei woke up while feeling extremely exhausted. Pound 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 pound. As the loud knocking continued, two blonde heads popped up from the sheets. Issei looked to his left, and there was a frazzled-looking Asia Argento. Issei then looked toward his right only to see an equally frazzled Ravel Phenex. Then the door banging began once more. Pound 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 pound. Ravel immediately gained a tick mark and darted from the bed while instantly turning the door handle. What? Oh. Mommy. Lady Phenex poked her head into the room while lifting an eyebrow. Her fiery eyes were directed on Issei, who was cowering in bed with his blankets pulled over him. After a moment, her eyes shifted toward Asia. Turning her attention back onto Ravel, Lady Phenex taps her foot on the ground frustratingly. I have so many things to say right now but to be honest, I am just perplexed beyond astonishment. Ravel backs back toward the bed as Lady Phenex enters into the room with her hands to her hips. Well then, where to start? Where to start, indeed. The lady then clicks her tongue a few times. Ah yes, your little adventures in the human world late in the evening. I've already asked your sister and she claims ignorance, imagine that. And before you even begin to explain yourselves, I would love to know who this new girl is, as she is unmistakably giving off a Phoenix aura, almost as if she were a part of your peerage, Ravel. Issei takes the driest and largest gulp he's ever taken. Lady Phenex, ma'am. May I please speak? Immediately, the lady of the house scowls at Issei with a look that could kill. What? Blinching, Issei musters up every ounce of courage he has, knowing full well that this woman could turn him into BBQ. All of this, it's all my fault. I take full responsibility. Issei immediately stands from the bed and slowly approaches the irate woman. Ravel is in fear of Issei's life as she hopes he knows what he's doing. Asia simply stays still while showing an expression of fear toward this unknown woman. It was my fault that I asked Ravel to take me to see my parents. It was my fault that we ended up doing something pretty stupid. It was also my fault for the scene right now. So please, Lady Phenex, whatever type of punishment you have in mind, please direct it on me and only me. Issei takes another large gulp. Ravel's little heart began to ignite with fire as the Phenex heiress was watching her savior save her once more. Asia was also not missing what Issei was now just doing for their sake, which reinforced her admiration for her senpai. Lady Phenex looked back toward Issei as her expression slowly softened into a very slight smile. I see. Well then, after breakfast, I think you and I will have a nice one-on-one. Issei nods. Yes ma'am. The lady shakes her head while grinning. Oh, I wasn't asking, dear. Scene, dining hall. What took you guys so long? Oh wow, are you limping? Riser, who was sitting at the end of a very large table, stared as Ravel, Asia and Issei walked in together, followed by Lady Phenex closely behind. Indeed, Ravel, Asia and Issei all had a limp to their walking. As both girls had blushes on their almost ashamed-looking faces, Issei instead had a very upbeat smile. Lady Phenex was showing an indifferent expression, however she kept her eyes trained on Issei. Ubaluna, who was sitting directly right of Riser, began to giggle. Oh my. Don't tell me that all three of you. Keep your tongue civil at the dining table, Ubaluna. Lady Phenex demanded. Riser giggles but stops the moment her mother stares back at her. Sorry, mother ahem. As everyone sat down, servants began to bring trays of eggs, toast, sausage, ham and pretty much every other type of breakfast food that would come to mind. After a bit of silent eating, Riser continued to eyeball Issei and a thought came to mind. Boy, kid. Up for a bit of training later. I still haven't paid you back for the fat lip. Riser grins. Issei, who actually didn't mind the idea of stretching a bit, was about to speak up, however. I'm very sorry to say that Issei Haidu has taken full responsibility for a plethora of infractions against my wishes and therefore will be spending his day with me. Lady Phenex announces this with some venom in her voice. Mommy. Please don't, he didn't mean Ravel was now the one who was cut off. I won't hear of it, Ravel. He said it himself, he takes full responsibility. Lady Phenex then glances toward a nervous Asia. For the both of you. From that moment, breakfast was eaten in silence. After the meal, Issei was taken by Nai and Lee to the baths. Oddly enough, the cat twins were respectful of the teen's privacy as he managed to get in and out unscathed. If you are all dried off, Issei-kun, please follow us to Lady Phoenix's chambers, Naya. Lee spoke in a quiet and pleasant tone. With haste. The mistress hates to wait. Nai sounded a bit more excited. Ladies, can I ask you a question? Issei sounded a bit uneasy in his speech. Both catgirls had their striped ears twitch as they nodded happily. Has Lady Phoenix ever been known to be, lenient? Issei was hoping for a good answer to this question. Both girls looked at one another and then back at Issei. Instantly, their smiles turned into worrisome frowns as they shook their heads no. There was clearly fear behind their reaction. After that revelation, Issei felt as though his ass would be unrecognizable after the lady was through with him. Scene, Phoenix Mansion, Lady Phoenix's chambers. Issei was standing at the large twin doors of the lady's bedroom. Once Nai and Lee escorted him, they politely excused themselves, leaving Issei alone and very nervous. Knock knock knock. You may enter. Lady Phoenix's voice was clear from the other side of the door. Gulping, Issei turned both door handles and slowly walked in. Hello, Miss Phoenix, ma'am. The teen attempted to keep a smile on his face even though he was very concerned. The lady was standing near what looked to be an old-fashioned vinyl player. Wearing a turn-of-the-century beat-tail dress, gold and red in color, the blonde was carefully placing the player needle onto the rotating record. Yes, welcome Issei. If you don't mind, please take what I have laid out for you, on the bed. Just take it into the bathroom over there and put it on. The woman smiled when an unfamiliar song began to play on her old record player. Issei looked over toward her very luxurious bed. Expecting to see some kind of gimp suit like the one from Pulp Fiction, Issei was surprised to see a freshly pressed tuxedo with gold cufflinks. Alright, ma'am. Issei quickly took hold of the pants, shirt, dinner jacket, black socks and the pair of black dress shoes while making his way toward an equally luxurious-looking bathroom. Carefully closing the door and using one of the many mirrors, Issei managed to dress himself, except when the bow tie was involved. Issei was cursing himself for only knowing how to wear a clip-on version. Undoing the collar button, Issei figured he looked swagger enough. Placing the bow tie in his pocket, Issei walked from the bathroom, only to see Lady Phoenix standing directly in front of the door. Issei flinched at the jump scare as the lady eyeballed him up and down. She then tilted her head with a look of dissatisfaction. Issei, where is your tie? Lady Phoenix reaches over and buttons Issei's collar once more. Looking embarrassed, Issei reluctantly pulled the tie from his pocket. I'm sorry, Lady Phoenix, but I don't know how to put these on. Looking at his hand which was grasping the tie, Lady Phoenix then smiled warmly. Sweetie, don't be ashamed of not knowing how to tie a tie correctly. Come here, let Mother Phoenix take care of this. Before the teen knew it, he was blushing as Lady Phoenix was extremely close to him as she was scrupulously fashioning his tie into the older Victorian style with long edges. Lovely, now all that we need to do is the lady uses both of her hands to softly place Issei's hair into a less chaotic state. La perfection, vraiment. Issei tilted his head a bit. Was that French? Lady Phoenix nods proudly. Naturally, a lady of my definition doesn't really require alluring devices, such as the elegant language of human France, however I feel it adds to my pedigree, not to mention my renown. Not to brag, of course. Fufu. Yeah, I guess French is one of those classy languages after all. Issei mentions politely. Speaking of class, darling, allow me to explain why you are here. Lady Phoenix directed the teen back toward her bed while smiling normally. Drag, is this gonna lead where I think it's leading? Issei was hoping that his sleeping dragon was awake. Snore snore snore. Deciding that Drag was indeed a lazy dragon, Issei sat down beside the lady at the foot of the bed. She then placed a hand on the teen's lap. Oh yeah. MILF time. Issei thought. About your punishment. Lady Phoenix grew a malicious grin. All perverted thoughts instantly were removed from the teen's mind, only to be replaced with fear. You are now going to learn etiquette. The taller blonde waited for a response while she blinked a few times. Etiquette? Are you talking about fancy stuff? Issei tilted his head. You mentioned class earlier, right? Well, what's class without etiquette? Issei Haidu, I will make it my mission to mold you into the perfect gentleman. Lady Phoenix declared proudly. Issei rubbed the back of his head in confusion. So, you want me to be one of those snobby rich folk? Squeezing Issei's lap lightly, Lady Phoenix shakes her head while showing a serious expression. Oh underworlds no. There is a very large and noticeable difference between arrogance and class. Arrogance, at least in my eyes, says that you are lacking in something, therefore you feel the need to boast. Class on the other hand, well that is knowing how to present yourself in a charismatic way. Dancing, table manners, music theory, appreciation for classical arts and music, basically traits that any well-to-do woman would find admirable in a compatible mate. Issei can't help but feel overwhelmed. Ma'am, I don't think I can do all of that stuff. Dancing. I've never even played Dance Revolution. Also Issei felt a little offended as he stared back at the lady with a hint of agitation. What's wrong with the way I eat? Lady Phenex raises an eyebrow while maintaining her smile. Sweetheart, I don't want to sound as if I am picking on you, but she then raises her other eyebrow. You were literally using a spoon while attempting to eat your eggs, bacon and even your sausage, earlier this morning. The lady then replayed that image in her memory once more. Foo. Issei's agitated expression grew slightly. I'm used to chopsticks. PFFT. Ha ha ha. The lady was now laughing wildly after seeing Issei's reaction to her ridicule. Issei finally had enough and stood up. Stop making fun of me. Oh, come on now, I'm just joking around. Besides, table manners are something that takes less than an hour of your time. Also, I'll clue you in on a cheat that I used as a little girl. Lady Phenex also stood up and placed her hands on the teen's shoulders. When it comes to silverware, always use the ones furthest from the plate, then work your way inward as each course comes along. The lady then winks. Issei tilted his head. Really? So when there are like 12 forks, you just use the outside one first. It's that easy. Lady Phenex nods. Congratulations, Issei Haidu. Already you are being molded into the perfect gentleman without even knowing it. As the day continued, Lady Phenex introduced Issei to a plethora of the finer things in life. Issei had to admit that dancing wasn't that hard as the lady seemed to be a very patient teacher. After the dance lessons, afternoon tea was brought to the room along with a fancy assortment of lunch sandwiches. Once finished, the lady treated Issei with a viewing of the art gallery located in the very far east wing of the mansion. After seeing some interesting and some very boring artwork, Issei was pleasantly surprised to see a section labeled Ravel Phenex's achievement wall. What is this, Lady Phenex? Issei was very curious. Ah yes, my little daughter was always proud of her little accomplishments, so years ago, I had this constructed for her. Though, as she is older, I'm sure she would want this removed, especially now that you are here, foo. The lady giggled. Seeing everything from the Ravel's first training bra exhibit to her embarrassing but very cute baby pictures, some of them were taken with her older sister, Issei's eyes widened suddenly at a set of very crudely drawn pictures. Walking closer toward the pictures, Issei's eyes began to water up slightly. The first picture looked to be drawn in colored crayons. It was a stick figure that was carrying another stick figure. The taller one had brown scribbles for his hair, while the smaller one had yellow scribbles. The background showed a square with a triangle on top with yellow and orange wiggly lines sprouting from the top. The box and triangle were clearly representing a house or building. The next picture showed a similar story, however it had a bit more detail. As Issei's eyes continued to water, each picture was a drawing of the same scene, just with better detail as the years went by. Feeling a hand on the back of his shoulder, the lady spoke quietly. As a mother, I am very grateful for what you did. She then moves her hand and touches his back very gently. Even though she is a phoenix, at her young age, that building would have most certainly killed her. Issei sniffled a few times and then turned back to meet Lady Phenex's eyes. I'm sorry. I really didn't know. I really messed up. How do you mean? The lady tilts her head. Taking a deep breath while using his hand to loosen his necktie, Issei replied nervously. Ravel and I. The lady giggles. Foo. Oh, you're worried about that. Calm yourself, Haidu. My daughter is a big girl and can take responsibility. Though, my older one, I don't really think I can say the same. Lady Phenex placed an index finger to her chin while smirking. I mean she really can be a blockhead sometimes. Issei shakes his head in frustration. But, that was her first that was also my the teen just couldn't put into words what he was feeling. Let me ask you a question, Haidu Issei. The lady was now staring back at Issei with a very serious expression all of a sudden. Yes. Issei looked nervous. Are you planning on breaking my little Ravel's heart? Once again, there was that venom in the lady's voice. Huck no. I love Ravel. Issei placed a hand over his own mouth as a blush took over his usual pale features. The lady instantly smiles warmly. And that right there, Issei Haidu, is why I don't have any issue. Love her and your life will be an easy one. Break her heart. However, Lady Phenex takes a step back as her eyes begin to glow with yellow flames. You will regret it. Issei's expression turns from slightly frightened to something more brave. Taking a step forward and relaxing his posture, Lady Phenex is suddenly surprised to feel both of Issei's hands on her shoulders. You're a good mom. Issei speaks seriously. Instantly, Lady Phenex's fiery eyes extinguish. You have my word, Lady Phenex, that I will do everything in my power to make Ravel happy. Issei announced with a proud smile. Seeing the truth in his warm and brown eyes, Lady Phoenix's admiration for Issei tripled in her quantifying mind. Well now, those are quite the words. Alright then, it's settled. I will speak with Mao Serapho Leviathan. Issei tenses up. What do you mean, settled? Well, obviously you have just asked for my blessing, and naturally, I accept. The lady then brings an index finger toward her chin. Well then, even if my blockhead daughter loses against your master, I should let them know that you will be a member of this household. I'm sure that Sirzich's Sama will figure something out. After all, unless you are traded to the House of Phenex, there will have to be a joint ownership between Ravel and Sona Sitri. Issei's jaw is agape. Wait, by your blessing, are you saying what I think you're saying? Using her same index finger to lift Issei's jaw back into his mouth, Lady Phenex replies with a slight grin. Well, there is the small matter of marriage. But it's nothing for you to be concerned about, my boy. Besides, you look smashing in a tuxedo, if I do say so myself. Marriage? You want me to marry Ravel? The teen suddenly sat back down at the end of the bed in shock. Oh dear, I almost forgot, the in-laws. Lady Phenex sits down next to Issei again while smiling brightly. Your mother and father, yes, I think it's time that I have a discussion with them. Issei feels like he is about to pass out. Considering that he did the deed, marriage isn't something that should sound all that surprising, however the circumstances were very stressful. Issei was a devil who belonged to Sona Sitri. According to Ravel, not to mention her earlier actions, Sona loves him. Sona is also a very wrathful person. How will she feel knowing Issei is getting married to another high-class devil? It was terrifying enough to know that he had tons of school work to catch up on now, under the unforgiving lash of Sona, but now, when she finds out he's getting married, how will she take it? Issei could internally envision Sona relentlessly having the kendo girls beat him senseless as she cackled like some evil queen. For some reason, parts of this vision were turning him on. Then suddenly. Alright, Issei, please do me a favor and fetch little Ravel. Bring her back to my room. After that, we are going to meet your parents. Lady Phenex winked. Also, you are leaving that on. The tall blonde beauty now pointed at Issei's tuxedo. Scene, Phenex Mansion, Lady Phenex's chambers. Wait, Lady Phenex, can we talk about this just a little more before jumping into things so suddenly? Also, I'm pretty sure my parents are worrying about me, considering I didn't have a chance to tell them where I was. I'm gonna get an earful enough as it is, but bringing up marriage. Issei looked as though he was going to pass out from sheer anxiety. Meanwhile, Lady Phenex seemed oblivious as she began to imagine preparing for the large wedding. Many plans needed to be made, including the ceremony, the reception, the after-party and so many other things. These ideas made the lady of the house feel excited and giddy. Before Issei had a chance to beg the lady to see reason, a loud knocking could be heard, coming from the chamber door. Drawn out of her fantasy, Lady Phenex cleared her throat and spoke up. Who is it? Mom, it's me, can I come in? It was Ravel's voice. Grinning, Lady Phenex spoke quietly at first while looking toward Issei. Speak of the devil. Issei smiled nervously. Turning her attention back toward the door, Lady Phenex replied. Yes, dear. Please, come in. Walking through the door and closing it behind her, Ravel noticed Issei at once. He was wearing a tuxedo and looked very handsome. This was a sight for sore eyes for the little blonde devil. Issei, you look, Ravel blushed. Lady Phenex giggled victoriously. Foo 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 foo. Yes, my Ravel, your fiancé cleans up rather well, don't you think? Yes, mother, he cleans up very well. Then it hit Ravel as her blue eyes widened even more than they already were. Fiancé. Issei blushed as did Ravel, meanwhile Lady Phenex did all but nod slowly while showing her victorious grin. Ravel, I can explain. Issei attempted to suddenly interject, however he was cut off. I accept. Ravel blurted out as her blush increased tenfold. Lady Phenex bursted out laughing. Foo 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 foo. Good form. Foo 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 foo. Yes, indeed. Catching her breath, the lady continued. Ahem, well then, Ravel, put on your proper face, we are headed to meet Issei's mother and father. Issei turned back toward Lady Phenex with a worried expression as did Ravel. Wait, do your parents know, about us? Devils. Ravel's blush faded as a concerned look took hold. Issei looked back and forth at the two blonde ladies while taking a large dry gulp. No, I haven't had a chance to tell them anything yet. It all happened so fast and starting to freak out a bit, Issei continued. Oh shit. They are gonna be so pissed at me for being gone this long. Language, Issei, darling. Lady Phenex lightly flicked the teen on his nose with her index finger. Ravel then thought for a moment before speaking up once again. What about Sona Sitri? Does she know? Issei grinded his teeth as his stress levels had finally reached their peak. Oh no, I forgot about Sona. Ravel blushed again. Well, I guess no matter the outcome of the rating game, I get my savior, regardless of Sitri and my earlier agreement. The short-stack Phenex suddenly produced a smirk very similar to her mother's grin. Issei noticed his new fiancé's beautiful yet sinister expression, which forced a truth to be known. Never ever piss off Ravel Phenex. Suddenly both the lady and her daughter began to laugh, quite maniacally. Issei meanwhile showed a terrified smile. Scene, Haidu home. Yes, Mickey, I just got off the phone with the police. They said that they will let us know the moment they have any updates. Mr. Haidu placed his phone into his pocket while he stared outside of the kitchen window. Meanwhile, Mrs. Haidu was seated at the dining table while nervously checking news sites for missing persons updates. I swear, if I find out that he's been skipping school and watching those porn animes at his friend's house again, he won't see the light of day until he graduates. Grinding her teeth, the angry mother swiped her finger against the phone while checking another article. Mickey and Goro Haidu both reached for one another in panic and fear the moment a bright and orange circle manifested near the hallway entrance. What is that? Mickey screamed out. Suddenly the fiery circle began to grow in size, while its orange light brightened into a sudden flash. Stepping out from the flaming circle was none other than Mickey and Goro's only son, Issei. He wasn't alone and there was also the fact that he was wearing a tuxedo for some reason. Ignoring the two blonde women and the fact that her son had seemingly walked from a circle of fire, Mickey broke away from Goro and dashed for her boy and hugged him tightly. Mr. Haidu tilted his head while showing an expression of concern along with great confusion. Meanwhile, the Phenex mother and daughter were watching the interaction between mother and son. Goro assumed that these two were foreigners from another country while noticing the elaborate European-style dresses the two were wearing. Issei was hugging his mother back with a very nervous-looking smile. It's alright, I'm okay, it's fine, mom. Suddenly, Mickey released her son before reaching for his ear and pulling hard on it. Issei Haidu. Where on earth have you been? As Issei was tearing up from his mother's iron grip toward his ear, Ravel couldn't help but giggle slightly. The sound of a girl laughing caused Mickey to turn around. Goro was happy to know that his wife had finally noticed the two other girls in the house. At first, he thought perhaps he was going a bit crazy, however his wife's validation of these two new people in his home brought some peace of mind. While still grasping her son's ear, Mickey spoke up with a confused yet still angry expression. Who are you? Lady Phenex cleared her throat while showing her usual high-class smile. Ahem, good day, Mrs. Haidu, yes. Well then, my name is Lady Valencia Phenex, and this is my lovely daughter, Ravel Phenex. She then politely bows as does Ravel. Mickey freezes in place as her hand releases Issei's sore ear. Blinking a few times, Issei's mother replies. Oh, well, hello. Turning back toward her son, Mickey gives him the death stare. Are these girls the reason you've been missing? Lady Phenex clears her throat once more. She does this while showing a more assertive expression. Ahem. This worked as the attention was back to her. As I was saying. Mrs. Haidu. She then glances over by the kitchen window while eyeballing Goro. And I assume you must be Mr. Haidu? Goro nods slowly while trying not to freak out. That's right. Nodding, the lady continues. Well, it seems your son has gotten the attention of my daughter, Ravel. Therefore, I have come to the human world, personally, to inform you that both your son and my daughter are now engaged. Mickey and Goro look at one another and then their eyes land back onto Issei, who is dressed in his tuxedo and rubbing his sore ear. You got engaged? Mickey looked as if she was about to pass out, however her husband ran from the kitchen window to hold her steady. My son is engaged. Goro, while holding on to his hysterical wife, looks back at Lady Phenex and then the daughter. Wait a second. With his attention back on the lady, who is now grinning, Mr. Haidu asks the concerning question that has been bothering him for a few seconds now. Did you say that you came to the human world? Lady Phenex's grin intensifies. Yes, I did say that. Not wanting his parents to freak out any more than they are, Issei spoke up suddenly. Mom, Dad, we should all take a seat. A few minutes go by as Mickey, Goro, Issei, Ravel and Lady Phenex all are sitting at the dining table. Devils. Mickey almost spit out a mouthful of hot tea. That sounds impossible, even though you say this. Issei's father slammed his hands onto the table in anger and frustration. Issei spoke up before Lady Phenex continued with her talk. It's true. I'm also a devil now. Both of Issei's parents look back at him with confusion. Nodding, Issei shows a serious expression. I was being stupid and kind of got killed. It's totally my fault. Ravel immediately interjected. It was most certainly not your fault. Don't call yourself stupid either. I won't have it. Suddenly the Phenex heiress began to slowly ignite into flames as she stood from the table chair. No husband of mine will ever talk down about themselves. You are my hero, you saved my life. Mickey and Goro watched in complete shock as Lady Phenex watched with a very proud smile adorned on her lips. Issei, on the other hand, looked absolutely terrified, not knowing Ravel was capable of such power. Suddenly, a blue-colored and glowing circle manifested almost exactly where Lady Phenex's teleportation circle originally laid on the floor. Seeing the familiar color and crest, Issei jumped from his seat. Shit, it's Sona. Ravel extinguished her flames while changing her angry demeanor to something less intimidating. So, that's like the other thing, the fiery one that you guys came through. Goro adjusted his glasses. Issei nods with some fear in his expression. Yup, that's right, Dad. Blue flash. Sona Sitri, along with Rias Gremory, Aeno Himejima and Tsubaki Shinra, all appeared from the now fading blue teleportation circle. Staring at a now standing Issei Haidu in a tuxedo, Sona raises an eyebrow. Haidu? What's going on? Lady Phenex slowly claps her hands while she remains seated at the dining table. Very good entrance, ladies. Let's see, who do we have here now? Oh, yes, Rias Gremory and a Sitri. Oh, then you must be Sona. That infernal Seraphol Leviathan's sister. Sona maintained her stoic expression, however she did reply. Yes, I am Sona Sitri, the one who is responsible for your older daughter's future defeat in the upcoming raiding game. The devil with the bob cut then adjusts her glasses while showing the slightest of smirks. Rias looks around the room and then speaks up with a nervous smirk. Riser isn't around here by any chance, right? Ravel's attitude seemed to have changed because she was suddenly giggling. Haha, no Rias Gremory, Riser is back at home, probably punching a tree or something. Sona then clears her throat while showing some authority. I was under the impression that Issei Haidu would be under house arrest within the Phenex mansion for the duration until the match. A little nosy, aren't we, little Sitri? Lady Phenex shows an arrogant smirk. But if you must know then so be it. I am having a discussion with my future in-laws. The room got very quiet which lasted for about 30 seconds. Then. In-laws? In-laws. If Lady Phenex is considering the Haidus her in-laws, then that would imply that Issei is Sona now removes her glasses before taking a large breath. That means placing her glasses back on, she turned her attention to Issei, wearing the tuxedo. Marriage Sona stomps her foot down onto the hard floor while pointing an accusing finger toward a very terrified Issei Haidu. Explain. Rias was taken back by her best friend's sudden outburst as she crept behind her queen, Aeno. As far as the black-haired senpai Aeno was concerned, this situation was sounding juicier and juicier by the moment as she was totally into this drama. Tsubaki maintained her composure and also knew why Sona was reacting the way she was, so she simply stood where she was and said nothing. Mickey and Goro both looked at each of the girls in the room but ended their gaze back onto Issei. Each of them seemed very confused and extremely concerned. Ravel chose to sit back down next to Issei while instantly reaching for his arm and holding it into hers. She did this action while blushing deeply. Lady Phenex stood from the table while looking into the kitchen area with a warm smile on her face. Tell me, where might I find a nice and hot cup of tea? Lastly, Issei was completely at a loss for words. So many things were happening so quickly, he hardly felt as if he had any control over his own life. What will the future bring for our wayward protagonist, Issei Haidu? End of the here. So that's it for today's video guys, before you go just like the video and share it with your friends. Bye.